We as coaches work for our players. They're not our players who are going to go execute what we want at a moment's notice. We are the ones who are empowering them to find their gifts and their understanding in order to allow them to be fluidly capable of attaining whatever else they want to learn or do or like be.
Welcome to the Captains and Coaches Podcast. We explore the art and the science of leadership through the lens of athletics and beyond. I'm your host, Tex McQuilkin, and I am stoked for today's episode. Passion is the name of the game, as we're joined by Patrick Chapla, the founder of POWlax, who's revolutionizing lacrosse education and skill development through gamification. Whether you're a lax person or not, Patrick has a great story and a mission as he's transformed his D3 All-Star playing career into a mission to make lacrosse accessible and enjoyable for players, parents, and coaches at all levels. From his early coaching experiences with at-risk youth to developing a comprehensive training framework that is now used worldwide, Patrick brings unmatched passion and expertise to growing the game. With that, let's pass it off to Patrick to help us raise the game. Ready, and we've quickly discovered that we were both Division III All-Stars and played against each other way back when in college, man. So you did get the best of me and my team back in the late 2000s. So I won't hold that against you.
I might have been on the bench at that point. I think I was a sophomore or a freshman that year. But yeah, that was good.
But one of the best mascots in sports, the Goucher Gophers. So
absolutely.
I do love me some D3 or just off the cuff Division I mascots. Something to be celebrated.
Definitely.
Cool, man. Well, lacrosse is a big part of your life, and that myself included, man, but you've been able to turn it into a wrecking ball force of education for the sport and truly taking young athletes, coaches, and parents where they can't take themselves. The sport continues to gain momentum across the country. You're located in Denver, Colorado here. So that pushed the wave, and then the use of the internet. Now, what I would say the only thing holding the sport back is coaches. Now you are tapping into that and providing a solution for everyone. Get us started in your coaching journey that led even up to your position with your family in Colorado and now POWlax.
Cool. So in terms of the coaching, when I graduated from CU, so I was 2 years at Goucher, then played at CU for a fall, and I missed my GPA requirement for CU by 0.02 of a cumulative. So I started coaching while I was in college. I did psych and neuroscience in college at CU. And then when I left, my brother and dad had worked at a youth corrections facility called Ridgeview Academy. And a few years previous to this, the director, Bill Wood, asked my brother what he would do with like $5,000 for their community because he was doing really good stuff there. And he said, I'd start a lacrosse program. And the lady looks across the table at him and he's like, you want to give these kids sticks to hit each other with? And he's like, yep, totally. It'll help build the community. And so these are all troubled youth, a lot of gang members. And so when I got there, I took over the program, and one of the unit manager that I had, he actually was the story of a new movie called Hard Miles. And we were sitting in a group discussion at one point, and he recommended to read Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And I read the book, and 2 weeks later, I quit working at Ridgeview to pursue lacrosse full time. And then a few months later, I got Twitter and saw that 3D Lacrosse was doing a clinic at their Denver shootout. And so I went there to see what they were doing, and was taking notes, and Jamie Monroe pulls up on a cart. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just seeing what you guys are doing. And he's like, I want you to come coach with me. So I got 2 years coaching with one of the most amazing coaches ever, Jamie Monroe, who runs Jam3 Sports. And he gave me my master's in lacrosse. 2 years working with him, I started coaching Grandview and kind of decided I didn't want to help 3D build 3D. I wanted to help build my own thing. And so then I started creating videos, content, and I put it behind a paywall. It did nothing for 2 years. Gary Vee said, put all your best stuff out for free. So I put all of it out for free, and people started to flock to it. They loved how it was explained, how it was simple. And eventually I learned how to create packages to monetize through printable playbooks, through a digital playbook, and these other options where it gives coaches the ability to go make an impact in a way where the kids respond. Because the verbiage you use, how you approach each situation, not getting dialed into menial details for younger ages, because you're just, you just got to let them play at that point. And as it's grown, I was lucky enough when I was 5 to my older brothers were invited to play lacrosse. So I always had a stick in my house, and it became our family sport. And so my objective is to make lacrosse as simple as possible, to create confident coaches, supportive parents, and motivated players where they, all the little roadblocks like this stick, how it performs, all the little things where parents don't know about the game. So they've got to learn enough where they feel like they could help their kid. Coaches, many of them are dads, and giving them a structure and a foundation that allows them to go learn and put things into that structure is kind of the mission. And it's been, I think it's 2025 now. So it's been like 12 years, and just, stacking each brick, right? I'm trying to build a wall. Each brick I try and stack as perfectly as possible, make it evergreen content where people can go back to it years down the road and still reference it and think it's good. And yeah.
That's awesome, man. And which age groups did you start targeting? Was it with the high school? Was it with the middle school levels?
So it was, when I began, I wanted to get all of what I knew out. And so I had a big list of 50 videos and then a date. And it was just check them off, right? 3 hours this night, 6 hours this night. And as I went through them, the weird thing about lacrosse is that the same strategies and techniques in teaching work for about 4th grade through high school. It's all about the expectations you set for the players and how you can frame it in a way that allows the kid to grasp it. But so right now we're working on very detailed, like K through 2-hour boot camp for coaches, 3-4 2-hour boot camp, where as the coaches progress through it, each year they have a actionable resource they can go to that allows them to hit all the pieces. And so one of the things about lacrosse that I find to be just incredible is all the phases of the game. Like, you have a face-off and there's a strategy there. You've got offensive and defensive transition. There are strategies there. Settled offense, settled defense, man up, man down, rides, clears. And the ability for a 5th to 6th grade coach to run practice plans that not only hit all those pieces, but keep the kids interested and involved and active from not coming from the sport is a very challenging task that I've been lucky enough to be in on, from the player level through watching coaches coach, and then seeing how at each stage there are specific things they can do that activate all those principles of having fun, creating great cultures, ensuring that the parents feel like their kid is not on an island, because they can't help them, but they can if they reference these videos. And it's been an incredible journey. One quick story. I was in California at an adrenaline tournament, and I'm hanging out with this guy, Isaac, who runs Phantom Lacrosse. He makes these wooden sticks and engraves them personally. And I kind of look over, and there's this Japanese kid over there, and he's looking at the stuff, and he looks up at me, and he's like, "POWlax? POWlax?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" And he's like, "Oh," and he runs off. And about 2 minutes later, there's 40 Japanese players and 2 coaches who are watching me do tricks and "We love your stuff." So to connect that story, I had a guy reach out and say, "Hey, can I take your video and transcribe Japanese on it?" I was like, "Of course, dude." And so then they had used these to coach their teams. And it was just the most incredible thing of just the mechanics of the internet. And now POWlax is being used all over the world, and it's been incredible.
Yeah, man, that is awesome. And I know the PLL is making a big push towards that market. Yeah, I become friends with Jack Posey. He's based in Dallas, coaching out of the Lacrosse barn, and he was one of the dudes selected to go over. And just the enthusiasm that he brings to life, I'm sure is, even though there's of course a language barrier, just his energy and smile, I imagine, was creating that spark necessary. Have you happened to ever read the book by Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers?
Of course. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it just speaks on that spark that just
Yep.
creates these pockets of power for sport in in the Dominican for baseball and tennis in Russia. So it is exciting.
Totally. And so when I think of that spark for me was my father and my brothers. They were older than me by a good amount. And I was an only child where I had my mom's side where I was mostly, then my dad's side where I'd go every other weekend. And because I was the only one from my mom, my dad, then I've got older brothers. But so as I went each place, I would have to kind of figure out my way by myself. A lot of one-way drives with my dad and my mom, which were awesome. But that spark was created in always being able to walk by the stick, being able to look over and pick it up once every 2 weeks. And then whenever I'd pick it up and my brother'd be there, he'd teach me something, and it like hooked me in. And then throwing in the front yard with my dad, where he was 44 when he found the sport. And so he picked it up. He coached at Ridgeview with us, and he really dove into it. But so his story kind of, I think lacrosse is something where a lot of people get caught up in the ages or where I'm going to go here and there, but lacrosse can definitely transcend the age barrier. Like, we have a team in Colorado of all dads who never played as kids, and they play men's league so that they can get experience playing in order to teach their players. But so for that spark, when I watched my brothers, and my brother and I would shoot at this wooden doghouse, and like he'd be just cranking on it and he'd hit it, and I'd do it all weird. But when I hit it, it felt so good. And then I went into doing tricks, and that's where I learned how to fail. Like that was foundational for me, because I would try these tricks and I would drop it while I was watching TV. And then I'd hit it, and I'd run upstairs real fast, and I'd get in front of the TV where my dad and stepmom were watching CSI, and Dad, look, check it out. Watch. And I'd miss it 5 or 6 times. And he's like, dude, there's no DVR here. Like, we're watching this thing. And then I would hit it. And through the, frustration of him being like, dude, I don't even know how the show ended, he would watch me do it, and he would, say, wow, that's amazing. Or, dude, that's that's wild. And he'd reinforce that love of the game. And so that's the spark that I want my videos, my playbooks, all the things to be able to have that kind of power so that when people realize how hard it is to do lacrosse, how to play it, how to coach it, how to be a parent of it, that they feel capable because they get those wins. Because if they don't, it just creates so just a quick example is the stick. If the kids don't have a stick that can function consistently and with a good technique consistently, it becomes so frustrating. Or even hold the ball correctly if the pocket's not deep enough. And if you can relieve those barriers for the coaches, the parents, the players, the more wins they get, the more they're willing to put the work in outside of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just one of the foundational things of POWlax, and how we want it to be accessible, but also doable.
Timeout. Feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders, actual training getting squeezed out by life's demands? The Old Bull program on Train Heroic was built for warriors like you. I create targeted 6-week training cycles that systematically address knee, hip, back, and shoulder health, the foundations that keep you moving when others break. No wasted time, no unnecessary complexity, just intelligent programming that adapts to your schedule and your body's needs. Each cycle manipulates key lifts to maximize results even when time is scarce, because old bulls don't stop training. We just train wiser. Whether you're managing old injuries or preventing new ones, this program keeps you powerful despite life's limitations. Start your 7-day free trial and train and roll it by clicking the link in the show notes. The Old Bull Program, because the world needs your strength. And now, back to the show. Ready, and break. Yeah, the accessibility, like this reminds me of, and I'm reflecting on a lot of the introduction for lacrosse and myself. I didn't start playing until I was 16. Basically, our football coaching staff had written off my grade, and we felt we were leaders and winners. So as 16-year-olds, we all came together and started our own team in small town Texas. And then 5 of the 10 of us went on to go play at the college level. And it like we had a volunteer coach from Long Island, and as small as the world is, he went to high school with Nick Tentle, the founder of Lacrosse Barn's uncle and father. So he had all these high school stories growing up of his pals that he would like share. And he was just volunteering because his nephew played against us in football and just saw the toxicity that his nephew was going through. So just didn't want some willing dudes in his community to experience that. So he would give to us, and he's a great man. I stay in contact with to this day, like 22 years later. And yeah, man, it's just the sport is such a small world. Like I mentioned, we played against each other, and as you continue to pour into the sport, the more connected it starts to be. And I hope as it spreads throughout the world, like the genuine connection and coach and people that do fall in love with the sport do stick with it.
Totally. A guy at the Massachusetts Youth Lacrosse Convention expressed it this way: there's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but there's 2 degrees in lacrosse. You know one person who knows that person. And then as people come into the sport, I think many are surprised by how tight-knit it is and how everybody kind of knows everybody. And as you come in, welcoming more people is incredible. And as we grow the sport, Lyle Thompson, Hall of Fame lacrosse player, could be said as the best player ever, a native guy from the Haudenosaunee, from Six Nations, he said this thing. So as a player who, I think that the traditions of the game must be foundational in how we educate about it. And he said something really cool on an interview. He was like, the creator gave us this game, and it's our responsibility to share it with everyone. And it allowed me, as someone who knew it had native roots, to feel like I could grab onto it and say, I can be a good steward for the sport and honor the traditions that help to create the positive foundation that allows people to find their gifts within the sport. And so with captains and coaches, right, we want to allow players to find their gifts. And we use the sport as that because you can be anything. So Bill O'Brien has this thing. He was talking to the Czech team at one of the World Games, and he talks about how Lyle is the eagle. He's got great vision. Miles is the bear. He's got great hands. And think about a bear catching a salmon. And then Jeremy's the deer. He's got a teredaho, a headpiece, because he's the leader. And so as you explore the game, it can teach you what your strengths are and help reinforce those for you, so that when you leave this area of lacrosse, you can have that with you and use it as a strength of who you are. And it's just, I think that's another reason that lacrosse was just different for me. I tried all the sports. Obviously my family found it, they did it. And the ability to connect with a kid on how he is different than another person gives him the sense of pride that he can be him in the sport. And so it's amazing how many connections it all makes, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, and then just commenting and looking at the sport physically within the respect to basketball, the taller you are, the more attention you get from coaches, the more investment you get. So you're getting more depth investment from coaches because you're tall. Within football, the weight room directly connects to success. If you're able to absorb and produce and redirect force, you're going to
Mhm.
connect. But then eventually it levels up to a position where you genetically can't put on enough muscle or are not fast enough to compete genetically. But then
Mhm.
within lacrosse, like you said, there's different phases of face off, transition, offense, defense. Each one of those, there's gifts physically that find a role for you on the team. Even within that, if you are a certain body type or just this different quirky individual, all these different shapes and sizes, and then there's 1, 2, 3 attackmen or 1, 2, 3 defenders. Like a good coach will design their offense around your super strengths, around your abilities to do something, versus just try to force feed you into a system similar to
Mhm.
how football and basketball develop athletes. So it's just this infinite opportunity and such freedom on the field or within the indoor arena to just move and shake no matter what size and shape you are. There's a place for you if there's a coach that's willing to see that super strength and really pour gasoline on it.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. I want to get and highlight the education development that you have. Uh, so walk us through just how your mindset is. You initially started off with just ticking boxes in your thought process and creation. When did you start to now organize it to this developmental track and path that you could present to people to meet them where they're at, both as a coach or an athlete?
So once I had the foundations, the original foundation was built so that someone could run, practice, and build all phases. And once I built, I want to say it was the Ohio State pairs video, and that's the one that really took off first. And I just analyzed a game from DU versus Ohio State where Ohio State just crushed Denver. And all the little pieces have begun to just connect where whenever a coach has a specific problem, they can go to a specific spot. And so I decided when I built the new website and went into what I wanted it to do, I wanted it to be a complete resource where they could have everything in one spot. And so I built all the videos, did my whole track of what people need to know, what is the sport, what are the rules, uh, coaches foundation of who are you, what's your situation, what are your co-coaches like, what's your practice field like, what are your administrators like, so that they can just kind of see the bumps ahead and know where they're at. And then practice planning, phases of the game. And then for the coach's perspective, we go straight into like practice plans and the understanding of when I'm trying to build an offense, I should build my defense at the same time. And then they can compete during that day. But when when a coach goes into that practice, oftentimes they're like throwing these random drills in. I'm like, no, you want to run skill drills that build into competition drills where they can compete one on one, and then into team drills where it references the offense, but they're using the skills they built in the one on ones and skill drills. And then you'll have walkthroughs that overview it, and then you let them play. And so there's a linear path of any practice plan where the coach is having an understanding of how that works allows the players to go into it and to realize, at the end of practice or in one of the other drills, like, hey, we just worked on this skill, and their ability to understand it is cleaner. And so we do a bunch of practice plans where I go over what the drill is. We show videos, we show why we're doing it, how it fits into the offenses, so that when a coach goes onto the field, they may want to adapt it somehow. But as long as they understand the framework, they can put in what they want and they can try new things and they can have their agency of my team's a bit different. I'm going to explore this avenue. And when you empower anyone and you give them the ability to realize that the paths are not always going to be straight. They're going to be zigzags. And you're going to have a game where you're really good in this area. Then you're going to be bad at it the next week because you focused on something else because you thought it was good. And so then we get into game day, how we want to make sure we structure things, how practice should be run in terms of when the kids get to the field, we put our bags right here and you zip it up and you make sure you come to practice and nothing's laying out, nothing's there. And when we get to practice and the whistle blows, you come and you're here. Like whatever you got to do before you get into this communication, you need to make sure that we're ready to receive instruction and go do that thing. Like, it's funny. I'm dealing with my 6-year-old right now. And one of the things we've been working on a lot is people always say, "Oh, you're not listening." It's like, well, no, he hears you, but it's not about listening. It's about doing. You got to do the thing. If mom says, "Hey, put your shoes on," you get off the couch, you walk over and you put your shoes on. And then eventually it becomes, "Hey, there's a timer right there. We're leaving at that point. You know what you need to do. Make sure it's done." And if not, he's late to school. And then he has to walk in and I go with him and he must say, "Sorry, I was late." And he has to, even at 6. And it's interesting because we did this with my daughter who's 4 and she was a mess all day and the teachers were like, "Can she do that after school?" And I was kind of like, yes, like if she's not ready to go to school, I'm not going to bring her because it's preschool. And if she messes up the entire group, that's not cool for me to put her in that situation. But by not having her just say "sorry, I was late," gives the sorry too much power. We're all going to make mistakes. When we make mistakes that impact others, whether it's an accident or not, we apologize. "Hey, me and you were running that game, when we're playing in college and our feet get tangled, we trip. We're opponents. I'm going to help you up. Sorry, man. Let's go." Right? Just because it doesn't have to carry shame,
No.
And I feel like a lot of people feel like if they're acknowledging an apology that they should also feel guilty. Another thing that really helped me on my journey in building POWlax was a quote from the Master Key System. And I repeated this in my head going to sleep time and time again. The quote is, it might be from Napoleon Hill's, what's his good one? Either way, the quote is, "I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy." And you're supposed to repeat it over and over to yourself. And what I realized was as I got through them, I was kind of like, I didn't feel any of those. So I would say, "I am whole. I am whole." And I wouldn't move to the next one until I felt like I was complete.
Yeah.
And then "I'm perfect. I am perfect." And I'm not perfect in my actions, but I'm a human. I'm going to make mistakes. And that is a perfect part of who I am. And then so I am whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, happy. And as I did those, oftentimes if I was too late, I would just fall asleep on "I am whole" because I felt comfortable in that and I would just be out. But the act
Okay.
of conjuring that feeling, I feel allowed me to hit those stressful points and revert back into that feeling to say, I'm supposed to be feeling this and I can do it because I'm whole. I am perfect. And once again, not in the "I do all the perfect things," but my ability to continue to pursue, like the tricks, like the wall ball, like the dodge where the kid put his stick right in my chest and he got it out. It's like, what's the next step? Pick the ball up, go again. And that's carried through everything. Like, so kind of a weird, like last night thing. I'm working on the visuals of the Skills Academy. There's a bit where the frame is too big. So I'm putting in these code snippets and whatnot. And I'm working with AI to like make it happen. And I've got to try 50 different times before it looks the way I want it. But in those moments of frustration where it's like, won't you just work? It's just, you get back to your center and then go again.
Dude, I'm getting goosebumps over here. I have a lot of thoughts on this. So I'm going to start with where you started within shame and guilt. And this is part of my mission with captains and coaches is helping leaders understand the weight of their words. So differentiating, I actually speak in the NSCA, the National Strength and Conditioning Association's national conference in July on this topic. The name of the presentation is called Punishment, Reframing Discipline at Practice. And in that, I speak to shame versus guilt. Shame, it is delivered as if something's wrong with you and there's nothing you can do about it, right? You are a mistake. You are this. So it's a label. You're inadequate and defected. But then now guilt, and how you can position this as a coach, is you've done something wrong, but we can repair it. Similar to how you're introducing to your son and daughter, there are consequences to your actions. And I'm shining a light on two different paths that we can take, that if you're owning this, acknowledging it, well, the next time this fork in the road comes up when you're hanging out on the couch and mom needs you to go put your shoes on, you can now make the appropriate decision. There is something you can do about it. So now it's almost as if coaches use shame to where athletes, they don't build their own agency, to use a word that you had there. They stop creating their own conscious. And I know you had a YouTube video on this telling coaches stop to joystick, whatever the video game is, where you're like telling them exactly what to do. Like within lacrosse, we want this agency, we want this creativity, because that's where guys are really going to accelerate and get better. So with guilt, we can ask them what they were thinking and then try to shape and direct. And we're building this conscious, ultimately, like athletic careers end. And if we can help build their own responsible decision making, we did a lot as coaches. So I'm doing my best to help differentiate those two. Like guilt is it's a natural human emotion. I want to turn that into something you can grow and really shape your frontal cortex, where we make decisions, versus just shutting that off and having our coach shame us, put us down, and then like maintain the power versus empower, give it away. So
Totally.
I'm deep
I
diving.
want to riff on that for sure.
Yeah.
So, as we've built the Online Skills Academy, there's a new thing called the Team HQ coming in that's going to put all the strategies in one spot and all this stuff. But so I've been trying to talk to as many coaches as I can to see what of mine they would utilize. And we always have the conversations on the culture, on how their kids are. And because you don't want to put something in somewhere where, one, the coach isn't going to use it, and you want it to be useful for the players as well as the coaches. But one of the guys was a big football coach, or I think he was talking about the football coaches, and he talked about football as a game in general versus lacrosse. And so what he said was, he said that the kids that come from football have to learn the decision-making components within lacrosse, because in football, on every play, you have one job.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're a lineman and you don't do your job, quarterback sacked, your fault. Immediate reference of potential shame, potential guilt. And when they come to the lacrosse field, there's 5 decisions you could make. There's a 100% one, there's an 80, a 60, a 40, a 20, and then, you didn't see the slide coming and now you got wrecked. And so the ability to allow the players to make mistakes where they reference it. So in terms of the leadership capacity and building great cultures for coaches, one of the parts of our coaches training is how to relate to parents. And so one of my rules is they're only allowed to say positive encouragement, and they must address, if they address their player, they must next address another player. So they got to learn the names. They've got to make sure they're spreading the wealth as far as their positive encouragement, but they are not allowed to say instructions, because then the kid gets into this tussle where he's like, do I do what coach said? Do I do what parents said? And with the aspect of decision making and having that, what the way that I've recently begun to frame it is like, you want to put the kid in a situation and then you want to ask him, what'd you see?
Mm-hmm.
And you say, because if let's say it's a fast break, you got one midi streaking down and the lefty attackman, or let's say there's a D midi who comes over against a long stick midfielder and the coach is like, Jimmy, pop out, Jimmy, pop out. And Jimmy like doesn't do it. So the ball gets taken. Come on, Jimmy, you got to pop out. This is what you need to do. And Jimmy thinks, okay, next time it comes down, I'm going to pop out. Well, the next play, it's a fast break. There's no defenseman on him, but it's an LSM, carries over. And as he comes down the field, Jimmy pops to the sideline. And the coach is like, Jimmy, what are you doing, man? You're supposed to hold the pipe, man. Because you got to know this stuff, man. And then Jimmy feels like, well, what do I do, coach? But if coach goes into it and says, hey, Jimmy, what did you see? And in the first example, he's like, well, Sam carried over. He was hounded by the pole. Awesome. You're seeing the right thing. If he's being hounded by the pole, what can you do to help him? Well, I could run to the middle, get out of his way. Perfect. Good idea. I could fake that and then pop to the sideline. Cool. Awesome. But now we've built a frame of reference for the kid to understand the decision so that then he can make those items. But so backtracking again to the coach, he just basically said that when he gets kids from football, they feel like there's only one right option. And like,
Mm-hmm.
as I work with my 6-year-old team now, they all think they have to run at the goal.
Yeah.
And so they try, like, the guy's right in their face. They're shuffling their feet. He's trying to run through them. And if he would just run to the side, he'd be good. So I'm like thinking in my head about how to do that with the 6-year-old to get him to see, to experience it, not necessarily to have me tell him.
Mm-hmm.
But so hit a lot of things there.
I know.
And the foundations of creating a team culture where the idea becomes, what did you see? So we've got another rule on our teams where all the players after a goal is scored on defense have to bring it in. And they got to talk with the goalie. Now we've got very specific rules on this. The first thing is you're talking about two concepts, and that's it. Was the goal created by a lack of understanding or a lack of execution? And so did someone not know? Was that kid just really good? And once we've outlined that, we've got another rule as far as how we do it, which is everything has to start with I.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, oh, Billy, you gave it up. Like I was talking with a team in California, and the goalie was communicating, and I was like, well, what was the thing that made you really upset last game? And he's like, oh, well, our defenseman picked it up and he was running, he just dropped it. And then I had a 1-on-0, and I was so upset because this team shouldn't even score against us. And now they've got a goal. And I'm like, well, how'd you treat your pull? And he's like, well, I yelled at him. And I'm like, okay, well, does he do that often? He's like, no. I'm like, well, do you think the frame of reference of, hey, Matt, you got it, man. Like, don't worry about it. We're good. You're good. You got the next one. I know you're going to do it. How do you feel that would feel? And then when we bring it in after a goal, they learn to understand that their ability to impact others is not just their performance. It's their voices. Hey, Tim, you were a little late there. I'm going to let you know you're hot. And then the 2 goes, hey, I'm going to let you know that you can go, that I got your guy so that you're ready to go when this happens. And as they
Mm-hmm.
begin to communicate in that fashion, they're empowered by their ability to talk before the play. Hey, man, remember last time he's going to cut down. We know he's going to cut down. So I just want you to pass him off to me. I'll be here. And then, whatever other name has our back too. And then
Right.
we create the ability to enforce the team through the players, where everybody has that agency that knows that I can impact this game by my play. I can impact it by my voice. I can impact it on the sideline as someone who's organizing our next celebration, and everyone has that role to embody, to discover themselves and to become who they are
Mm-hmm.
and feel good in that.
It, feel good, and that is it is a segue back to I got a lot of jumping points and hooks off of that as well, and I do want to highlight where feel good about it, and then the work you've done, like your work where you said I am whole and sat with that. So within
Mm-hmm.
the world of science, that's called neuro linguistic programming, to where our thoughts, our words do become our reality, right? Self-fulfilling
Yeah.
prophecy. I imagine you've heard of that before, but NLP, and this is awesome for working with kids because you actually are teaching them how to talk to themselves. Like I mentioned, creating a conscious with decision making, as mentors can guide it or put blocks up. You can also now help teach them how to motivate themselves or have a positive self-esteem, right? The science of self-esteem. So NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is in that. Within the youth, some coach in fifth, sixth grade, and then JV and varsity on high school. Within fifth, sixth, I have a joke, of course, natural humor, where we don't say the C word. I can't.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, as soon as the course, and I also don't say we can't. We
Yep.
right. We have a strong hand if I'm right-handed, and my weak hand if I'm left. I was like, no, this is our offhand. So now, or I could even reframe it as my on hand. I got my strong
Or
hand.
left and
I got
right.
my on, or left, right. Like
Yeah.
there you go. So simple perspectives like that even any coaches or parents can listen for, and then we got to shape it. I don't want to shame it, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
say that, no, or give them a solution. So you always want to replace a negative behavior with a healthy behavior in action. So giving them a tool to then say, where I haven't had enough reps yet, or
Yes.
my left hand needs more work, versus I can't do that or I suck. Um,
Yes. And I'm going to riff to the coaches thing real quick. So that's what we try to do through the masterclass program. Because the one thing that is, I think, holding up the sport more than anything is not having committed adults who don't know the game coming into coach. Because at every single club all over the country, they don't have people that know the sport. They've got to come in. Now, the worst position you can put that person in who is volunteering their free time to coach a sport they don't know is to have them not have a plan and effective strategies that will allow them to be successful in it, because they look at it and they're trying really, really hard. They're looking on the internet. They're looking on all these places, pulling this information together, spending tons of time, and they go out and they try it and none of it works because they have the wrong frame of reference for their age group. And then as the kids go out and play and they're terrible, the coach is like, starts to feel that, oh, nothing I'm doing is working. Oh no, I wonder what the other parents think. Oh no, all this other things that happen. And now he's feeling shame and guilt in his own unsuccess. And it's like, you're not supposed to be good yet. You
mhm.
have, it's the man in the arena. You just got in the arena. And giving them the framework where all the stuff they're learning about falls into specific categories that allows them to be successful is where they don't end up frustrated on the sideline screaming at a kid or grabbing his helmet and like doing all that, where because what they're doing is working. And so you mentioned self-esteem and like confidence. Well, confidence comes from action. Like I think about it like I went on a rafting trip with my brothers and there was this, place you jump off, right? And so many actions in life are that moment. I'm going or I'm not. And if I go, now I'm in the air, I'm falling, that's freaky, oh no. But every decision you make, whether it's a new job, whether it's getting up from a table and leaving someone who's toxic, whether it's addressing the person across from you who was just rude to the waiter, like, I'm going to say these things to you because I will not be around people who disrespect others and not say, yeah, I get it. Your steak was a little too rare for you. Just say, hey, this was a bit rare. I don't know if you guys can do anything about it or just sit there and eat it, or people have different things on that. But in that moment, you feel that tension. I remember sitting in an interview and I was just sweating. But it was like I got out of it and I was like, man, I was really weird in that. But I felt this whole like body, tingles and all this like fight or flight response. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I've never been in that situation. And so I think, like you mentioned about the I am whole thing, is like in that moment, you have to know that you're not going to be good at it. And you've got to be okay with that because you haven't earned the ability, like to be really confident in something, it kind of has to be boring. Like you have to have done it so many times that it's boring, like public speaking. I have not done that like I've done, I think 3 or 4 talks, but I do it here a lot, right? But now that there's tons of people around, the whole environment's changed. It's a whole different thing. I got to get past that and get back to my center. And that's kind of what has to happen in terms of going into a new venture is you've got to believe that as you try and fail, try and fail, try and fail, try and fail, each one you're going to pick up something. And then you're going to win one. You're going to feel good about it. And you're going to go, man, I'm really glad I didn't sit on the top of that ledge and not jump.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Because, yeah, the pain of regret is sure more weighs more than failure, whatever that quote is. See, I'm making mistakes too. It's okay. With how you're speaking to this jumps to how I frame and educate coaches. So I coach coaches for a living, been fortunate, travel the world, teaching people how to teach people. And then a light bulb clicked when I was speaking at a rugby conference of all things. And then they brought in 75-year-old basketball coach, like Hoosiers straight out of it. And what I love about those small clinics and conferences is just a very eclectic local group. Like I was the person they flew in. They can fly in one. The rest is just from this region. So this was in Iowa Rugby Clinic.
Yep.
Like I've thought Texas lacrosse oxymoron, like rugby Iowa. And so giving, just listening, and he explained coaching so simple. And it just, all these light bulbs started going off. And how he set it up was just 4 phases and stages. So define for every drill, every game plan or lesson plan, learning objectives, we're just going to define what we're aiming to accomplish today. From there, we're going to model. So if it's a specific drill, whether it's basketball, lacrosse, whatever, usually coach steps in to model. If coach is getting old, right, we find our pride and joy, the top kid on the team, to have them model the exact, like perfect expectation of execution we're going to go for. From there, we're running the drill. And coaches, you're saying one thing they need to fix or correct, the rule of one. And so you're just shaping every single rep. You're giving everybody feedback there. And if they do it well, they do it correctly, then we reinforce. What we can't do is not say anything. Otherwise, we're actually reinforcing a negative movement pattern or behavior. So just that simple, define, model, shape, reinforce. It changed how I present and teach. So now whether I'm teaching and coaching movement, strength and conditioning, or stepping in and teaching and developing culture and representation. So for the dad in your previous example, maybe lacrosse, how he needs to think back. How did I define it? How did I model it? Maybe he was not the best because he's picking up the skill. And then when it's game time, as the ultimate expression of our skills and drills and movement and practice plans, now how is he modeling now behavior? If he's losing his temper, his cool, if he's hiding within his jacket, or if he's seen the water boy where he's drifting away back into the crowd, like how is he now modeling how these young men and women are going to lose in life? He can take this, okay, well, win with class, lose with class, and find different ways to still maintain the lesson. We all have loss. Can I maintain the lessons that I'm teaching behaviorally if X's and O's aren't going my way?
Yeah. I think of you mentioned, so it's model, or it's define, model, shape, reinforce, correct?
Yep.
I think that a lot of people look at shaping like a ball of cookie dough, where they're going to shape it once, they're going to put it somewhere else, and it's going to become what it is. But no, this is the Pieta. This is the Mona Lisa. This is 1,000 touches of that one little thing. And you're going to say it 17 times to get the one thing. And then you're going to be able to then move to the next. And that's the fun of it, because you see it come to life. So in our 6-year-old team, a lot of them will just stand and throw. And when they are standing and throwing, the kids are all in their face, but they don't quite know that they don't have to go through the player in order to throw the ball. But so we've been using the term run away. And a player got the ball on the defensive half this last weekend, and they were just mauling him. And, as a coach, I'm just saying, name, run away. And he ran, and he was on the defensive half, mauled by 3 guys. He ran, freed his hands, and threw like a 30-yard pass that was caught on the other end, where that kid, now in the 6-year-old game, you have to have a pass over the midline unless you catch it from the other side. And he went and scored. So it was a real assist where there was a throw, there was a catch, there was a goal. And it was, the 100th time that we had said it. But as we continue to shape through our language and allow them to make the little critiques, it's just those, the one little paintbrush, like you're going to hit it 1,000 times, but that's the job. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we're there to do. And yeah.
Yeah, within that, and for upperclassmen at the high school level, sometimes they feel like they got it. And so when coaches step in to continue to shape, it's important to remind them, like, there are levels to this game. We got this. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm focusing on one little extra thing where you've, I won't call it mastered, you've successfully asked what I asked you to do, and now I'm going to add a layer to this specific skill or a phase within the game.
Yes.
So helping them understand, like, even professionals are stepping into being coached. So coach able. So sometimes, when I get pushback from athletes, that's when I step in, and it's important for the new coaches to understand, like, they've got a whole life outside of lacrosse. And more often than not, when you step in and there's some form of resistance, pushback, it's not necessarily against the words. So you can hold the mirror up of how did I present that during the shaping, but also this is where
Yes.
asking questions, as you introduced before, like, I know they know that. I know they made the correct decision in the past. So maybe I'm asking about something off the field that could get in the way of them continuing their development. Because life, as you mentioned, like, I'm a child of divorce as well. There are barriers in place and developmentally that you just got fissions within your childhood development that then you need to have those eventual developmental growth points afterwards. So the coaches
Yes.
stepping into these youth or high school, um, it, it is infinite, the possibilities. Like, we can give you the best game plans that we can, but it's still up to you to have the ability to execute and give what the kid needs at that exact moment in time, which is sometimes a little bit more than X's and O's.
Yes. And I do it. And you don't know where the shaping is going to come from sometimes. So I am lucky enough to have reframed my lacrosse pursuit into helping as many people as I can. And once I made that transition, it became less about me holding on to a strategy because it really works or any of that. And I was put in my place when I left Mountain Vista and Coach Monroe and went to Grandview and helped out a 7th, 8th grade team. And I'm coming in, I'm like, we got this awesome offense. It's really easy to put in. You do it this way, you do it that way. And I'm helping the team and I'm coaching the team. Crickets. They're just, but as I taught their coaches how to do it, they applied it to the age group because they knew the kids, they understood it. And in the tiny bit of time that they had them and did it, they took it way farther than I did. And it allowed me to realize, like, you don't know who you're going to learn from. Like, one was a baseball guy, one had played lacrosse, way back in the day. And their ability to connect with their kids and do it kind of put me in my place as, like, you're going to learn from everybody. Even now, I've got a guy in my neighborhood who has been coaching a kindergarten to 1st grade team. He coached them last year. And so now we both have kindergarten, 1st grade teams, which is amazing. But so I drop my son off at the bus and we kind of have a chat every morning, and it's awesome. But man, is he good at what he does. And the way he sets up his practice plans and the way he relates to the kids. And, like, one of the things that they do is they do a suicide they do a run at the end of practice. Right. And he's like, they got to build their conditioning. They got to do this and that. And on a level, I'm like, we just want to make sure that this is a fun part of what it is, because at that level, they just need to run. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the ability for them to run full speed with nothing else thinking about it, even just a one single sprint helps them so much. So we scrimmaged them at a high school game during halftime, and they lit us up. My son was goalie, actually, and the first shot, one of their kids just has a rocket. The first shot catches my son right in the leg, and he falls over back into the goal. And then he got up and he, like, did it again. Like, it was cool. But the way this coach, who, as I came into it, I'm like, here's what I know developmentally about the age group. Here's what I know about this and how I want to apply it. And we spoke before about, when you're coaching young kids, you create a framework and a story, and they get to act out um, the hero of the story. And so I've got a ton of new ones of those, like ground balls. The stick is a fighter jet flying under a bridge. Does a fighter jet go fast or slow? Fast. Awesome. Once a fighter jet goes under, does it need to be protected? Like, if it's going, something could be on it, right? He's like, yeah, it's got to be protected. Cool. We protect. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then what if it's got to shoot? Like, what if it needs to protect itself and it's got to shoot? Okay, well, now we're up to pass, right? And so the act of making the stick a fighter jet flying under the ball helped so many kids just not try to trap it and get it, and then they go. And so it's a full exploration for me. And what's funny is I'm finding that I'm going back to the things that I have known to work more, and learning so much from coaches who have just been in it, and trying to help them to incorporate some of what I have too. But the other thing is, it's not prescriptive.
We were talking about coaching youth and kids, and
Uh-huh.
we had the chance to connect on the phone not too long ago when I was explaining some of the tools that I have, and I couldn't quite recall. So then I deep dove into these to further share with you. So this is, yeah, it's been a year developing the professional development track for a franchise called Kid Strong. So then this is the model to help teach these young coaches how to communicate to kids. So the objective is attentional focus. We want to capture, keep, and direct the attention of kids to help them move well. So our movement in our words, a lot of body language, that is helping create the thoughts for the kids. So as I'm doing my demos or listening to coach, they're watching you move with mirror neurons. They're creating this thought within their mind, which then leads to action. So
Yeah.
Your primary responsibility is to first capture attention and then keep it, right? If I have 1, 2, 3 skills in line, I'm not going to teach the younger kids 1, 2, 3 and then set them free to execute 1, 2, 3. We got to teach them 1, then 2, and then piece it all together. So this, I used a model from a coach called Nick Winkelman. So he's got a book I highly recommend. The Language of Coaching is the name of his book, and he's got a model called 3D, coaching in 3D. And I effectively took this model and then applied the youth framework in here. So first is description. So I'm going to describe the positions that I want my body, where to put my foot, for example, or where I want my hands on my stick. Then I'm going to introduce the patterns. So we set up an execution. The execution, it needs to be a singular action verb. Push, pull, throw. Then I need a direction. So towards, away, up, over. And then last but not least, you need a distance. So 10 yards or duration, how long? 10 reps until, or you're going to go after Timmy goes. So the distance and reps, that's always the last thing, but it's very simple setup, hands and body, action with the verb. It's one word, and then those become your coaching cues. If their hands are off, I've already introduced where I want their hands, and I just keep my coaching, my shaping within what I've already introduced and defined. So shaping with the younger kids, if I didn't define it, it's no longer in my toolkit as a cue to use. So everything I say and define, those need to be my shaping cues that I use for the younger kids. So then when working with the younger coaches, I don't know if you remember from elementary school, diagramming sentences. Do you remember this? Like noun, verb. So I had them basically write down the 3Ds, highlight and circle. And if there was any filler words within the sentence that they would present, throw it out. Like, let's just stick with the 3Ds. So then it's short, it's very direct, it's very visual. And then
do the 3Ds again.
So we got our setup and execution. That would be description. So and then the direction, where I want them going, towards, away, up, over. And then lastly, the distance or duration, how far or how many reps.
Awesome.
So then
I'm clicking right now for practice today.
Oh, yeah.
I'm totally clicking.
Well, so this becomes a repeatable framework. So no matter the drill, it's always 1, 2, 3 things. So when you're evaluating coaches, which that's all I do is teach and then evaluate coaches, I have a framework for me, and then it's fast, it's direct, and I can do it on the fly. If I listen and it's outside of the 3Ds, we're wasting time, and it's more for the coach's ego or just a filler words where I panicked because kids weren't responding. So I'm just filling in all these things because nobody was listening because I failed to engage. So, but if you don't pay attention, it's going to be a long day, coach.
Well, so there was a really awesome dodge back in the 90s called the bull dodge.
Oh, yeah.
And you just run the dude over is what I always thought. But so it's funny because with these 6-year-olds, the description, direction, duration is going to reformat. Well, one, probably all the stuff I do, but within this, I made it about a matador, right? So you've got your wind up hitches. You can wind up face dodge, right? And well, if now I've got their hands, which I should grab it. I just put out a video on how to tape the stick to allow me to communicate the right hand placement. But so now the description is you're a bull. The other player's a matador. When he holds his stick out, you're going to run through it, right? You're going to run through the stick and then you're going to go shoot it. But so as they incorporate the vision of being a bull running through it, it creates the whole framework. And so it's funny, we did a bunch of other stuff like for that age group where we're the hawks. So in front of the goal is the nest. And so
Mm-hmm.
for the defensemen, we just say defend the nest if they shouldn't be out wherever they are. And it like references and they know. And it's come to the point where we can just say like nest, and they do it.
Boom.
It's amazing.
That's the cue. So then the final two things for kids, and you've done it well, is imaginative play or a call to adventure. So a call to adventure
Yes.
is you're turning that crease into the nest. So now
Yes.
we are the protectors. This crease is the nest. And I imagine that the college level, your coaches say, this is your front porch. This is your house. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's an example at an older level, but the kids, it's more fun. And then imaginative play. This is where I am the animal. So now I'm the bull within the bull dodge, or I'm the hero, or the video game character. So call to adventure is the area around me, and I'm just a guy stepping into this jungle. And the imaginative play is now I am whatever the analogy is.
Yes. Totally. That's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, I get goosebumps. And then even with the 5th, 6th graders, pull out the bag of old tricks, because I mean they're still going to Minecraft movie, and
Mm-hmm.
they are kids at heart. Where yeah, high school is interesting when they get too cool for school. That's when you got to pull out the dad jokes, and it's if the visuals they still help as examples. Um, it's yeah, a whole bag of tricks. I know we're gonna get in high school in a little bit, but yeah, the kids is the most fun. Like for me, in creating that and using more body language and exaggeration to capture that attention. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man.
So let's build the high school then, because that I
Yeah.
think is like let's get there. So when I think about high school, there has to be these three components. And you mentioned video games. So there's a video game called Zelda where the protagonist Link is trying to save the princess Zelda, and the bad guy Ganon has captured her and he's got to save her. And so within this imaginary world, there are three components, kind of deities that came and created this thing called the Triforce. And the Triforce is courage, wisdom, and power. Courage is Link, the protagonist, who's got to go do all this stuff to try to save the princess. Zelda is wisdom, and then Ganon is power. He's the bad guy. Well, lacrosse has the same things, and especially for high school lacrosse, you can become derailed really easily if you don't have one of these three things. Now, the way that lacrosse maps, you've got to make sure that you have coaches have wisdom. They understand how to run practice, how to teach the players, how to make sure that what they're doing is applying. They've got to have the wisdom to build the wisdom to build the culture and to understand how to act in order to allow the courageous players to learn it, be able to do it well, to work well with teammates, to learn their own skills, and to really develop the agency that they can do the tasks that they're being asked to do. And the final piece is supportive parents. And so in lacrosse, especially at the younger levels, a lot of parents, like we mentioned, don't really know much about the sport. And so when they then see their player, if the coach doesn't have the wisdom to allow the player to enjoy it enough to work at it, where then the kid feels like he is adding to the team, the parent's no longer supportive because the parent can't really help because the parent has no experience with this sport. And so when we create these three kind of pillars or the Triforce, if we can align all these things, it really, really helps. And so, especially at the high school level where you have the biggest gap between a brand new player who just came to the game and a player who's been playing for years and years and years, you have to make sure you're wise enough to know that you have to use simple strategies because the new players have to be able to do it and the experienced players need to be unleashed within it. You also want to make sure that you have the ability to impact them enough to where they will do their work outside of practice. And this helps in a bunch of ways. So if they develop their skills outside of practice, they then come to practice and fulfill that agency and that I can do this mentality. But also, practice gets more fun
Mm-hmm.
because you're not worried about all of these different elements of, you're not having to build the skills for an hour and then get into play. You can then go right. You can get the sticks warm and you can have them play in the one-on-one competition drills, and all those, the team drills, and then the walkthroughs, and then the live play. And
Yeah.
so when you have that ability, then the parents love it. But for most coaches, they don't really like, you don't have 3 minutes for every player to come in and like after practice every day to like instruct them and do. You got to do it during practice. And then they have to be able to relate that back to where they practice.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where some of our other tools like the Skills Academy comes in, and to like, I guess, wholesale it back to the mission. It's, we want to create great coaches, courageous parents, or courageous players, and we want the parents to be supportive by making sure that the parents don't see their kid on an island and that they have what they need, whether it's the playbooks so they can learn the formats, whether it's the skills so that they can have that brain to stick connection actually happen. And it when it all flows, it's awesome.
Yeah. And then in line with video games, you've gamified the whole experience. So they're getting the reinforced, the dopamine hit, just like they do in video games, to keep them engaged and practicing and wanting more.
Yeah. And so that's, well, and it's funny because there's I was listening to something the other day and it was like gamification has a weird kind of bad part where if the kids are getting reinforced for every action they take all the time, they feel like that's how the world should work. But the cool thing about doing it within the context of a sport is that there's a test. The test is practice.
Mm-hmm.
If you continue to go through it and you're actually not really doing what's being asked of you, you're going to go to practice and you're not going to have that benefit. But if you can reinforce the acts of working on your skills and your technique through this gamified platform that walks you through private lesson style drills to do that, you're going to see the benefit in the real world as well. I remember my coach in college was like, you shouldn't be playing any video games. Like, there's not enough time. And now I see what he was saying because I'm a dad and I've got a business and all this stuff. And in the moment, I was like, but the new Zelda just came out and I want to play it. But the positive feedback loop of I'm going to put some work in and then I'm going to do it. Like I found with the lacrosse tricks, like I found with shooting with my brothers, and the ability to create that scenario and to really give coaches everything they need to make that happen. And now this new Team HQ thing where it's essentially like an organizing platform where the players can log in and they can see their work and the work the other players are doing. And there's a feed that shows when somebody's on and they're like, oh, so, Billy's working on his defensive footwork right now. That's awesome. And then they can get a badge and it lives on their profile. And when they take a quiz in the to master how a fast break works on offense and defense, they get a little badge that lives on their profile and they go, I know this and I've got it. And then when they get to practice, not only have they understand the framework of what a fast break is, but the Skills Academy teaches them the mechanics of how to be a point defenseman, how to guard your guy while he's coming over, get into a better position to help everybody else, and then go when you can have the best impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the kid gets to practice and they're going, hey, we got fast break drills, Jimmy, your point, he's like, okay, so I'm the one that's going to go. I say, I'm point. And now he's done the motion before and he knows the outline of what's happening. And now he just gets to experience it within the live rep and map. And so the ability for coaches to harness even just the free videos, like there's hundreds of free videos that outline the strategies, you can send them to your players and they can watch and you can use it all. Just knowing the framework with which you're working at the high school level creates the conviction to go into the defense after a goal or to congratulate everyone on the offense and think about the next goal, to feel confident in your communication to others to impact them and to make our team better. So Jocko Willink talks about being in Afghanistan, and he's like, I don't want any of those people out there if they don't know every single aspect of what they're doing, why they're doing it, where they're going, because then it's life and death. And if you can relate those principles back to understanding all the little elements, like eventually players have to become their own agents where they can see it. They know what's supposed to happen. They know what happens when it's wrong and how to fix it so that they can work together to fix the problems. And that's the main thing, because when those people go out into the real world, they know that when the marketing thing didn't work quite right, they know how to go talk to them about how to make it right in a way where the person's going to receive it. And they're going to say, hey, this is your role. Can I get anything out of the way for you to do your role? Would you like a reminder? Would you like this or that? Like, how can my brother said this to me, and it was one of the coolest things ever. He's a manager within a big tech firm. He sold a couple companies, and he's one of my favorite people and my idols as far as just as a dad and as a business person. But he said, my job is to go talk to these people and to get whatever's in their way out of their way. Like, my job, I work for them. I work for my employees. Like, we as coaches work for our players. They're not our players who are going to go execute what we want at a moment's notice. We are the ones who are empowering them to find their gifts and their understanding in order to allow them to be fluidly capable of attaining whatever else they want to learn or do or like be.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to put it, and then helps motivate coaches to understand like that there is a long-term plan to my daily practice coaching that is well beyond lacrosse. So to again, a lot of jumping off points and hooks for me to add some value. First one I'll order in is differentiation, is the education term I'm going to use for, right? I have, let's just call it 20 players with different athletic abilities, different learning abilities, different learning velocities, different experiences in respect to their life of lacrosse, different experiences on and off the field. So now I need to manage 20 different personalities and learning velocities and lacrosse abilities, and I'm applying one drill to the whole team. So now how do I organize and break up the group so we can maintain and challenge the starters versus our guys who are just trying it out for this semester? So that is where my practice plan comes into play, and utilizing these drills. So now where I feel using your tools, coaches can really advance is our how we learn. So establishing an expectation for coaches to understand how we learn. If I teach you something on day one, you're going to be uncoordinated all over the place. Your brain just doesn't make a connection to the new skill or the new thing you learned. It will do its job to remember it, but it won't understand it until at least one night of sleep. So we go into this deep dive within our REM sleep, and then it's going to remember only the important things from the day. This is why coaching is so valuable, and don't be a jerk. Really be an enthusiastic person and show the value of what you taught them. So their brain says, okay, that's valuable, puts it into our bank. And then after the first sleep cycle, we hold on to it. On the second sleep cycle, if it's not interrupted, then our brain goes searching the rest of the information that we've ever learned and starts to make all these different connections. Similar to where we get basketball guys or we get offensive linemen and teach them footwork for close defense, it's the same, right? So now if I am a coach and I teach them something on day one, and then I get angry that they can't just, why can't you understand? Or, day one's the example, or day 30, I teach them something new and mad at them for not getting it on day 30. I need to have an expectation on day 31, they're going to come back and remember it. So with your tools, okay, guys, here's the game plan for this week or tomorrow. I need you to watch videos 1, 2, 3 by Monday. So that way we can really hit the ground running. So as a
Yeah.
coach, I'll redefine. You've already defined it, modeled, and done the groundwork for me. I'll redefine, I'll model again, and then I'm not wasting any time. I'm shaping right away because we've established an expectation of execution and allowed them to sleep on it, literally. So just the potential power, pun intended, right, that you're providing for our
Yeah.
coaches is, I just see so much value in it, man, and I'm very excited for it. Clearly, like this is one of the richest conversations that I have, just selfishly, because I love the sport, and you're doing a lot to really take it to the next level. And like, I'm excited for
Thank
the
you.
Olympics. That's going to do wonders. But you are a resource for youth and coaches to really enhance the next generation of lacrosse stars.
Thank you.
Um, I, I do want to touch on a couple things recruiting wise while we're on the high school, because I've
Yeah.
been very fortunate to interview a lot of sport college coaches, a lot of strength college coaches, and the landscape has changed. So the current
Mm-hmm.
landscape is there's roster limits placed on all sports, including football. Football is 105. Lacrosse, I can't recall the number, maybe 34. So that it
Sounds right.
effectively, the walk on for lacrosse and football for the most parts is gone. So coaches are no longer recruiting freshmen. They're recruiting those transfer portal cutoffs where you had dudes that
Yep.
could, ride the pine for 1, 2, 3 years at Ohio State just for the chance to be a senior at Ohio State because they've been a Buckeye fan or a Fighting Irish fan their entire life. Well, now there's no place for you. There is no practice squad. There is no roster limit. You can just be a
Yeah.
student, just a guy at school. And uh, it's going to open up the doors for a lot of mid-level programs. But at the same time, the guys that want to go to those big name schools because it's they bleed, Carolina blue, whatever it may be, that window is closed. So
Yeah.
I'd love to get your perspective and experience communicating to kids on the expectations of recruiting that are not just fantastical. They're connected to reality to potentially go to a D3 or potentially go to a lower level at the time right now, D1, and turn it into a superpower. So
Yeah.
just sharing your perspective, any guidance or mentorship that you have given or can see yourself giving in the next year with the current rule changes.
Yes. So I come at this from a very different place than most people trying to pursue a Division I scholarship. I never cared about going to school to play lacrosse. I was picked up at a DU camp by Coach Monroe, who was at DU at the time, was friends with Coach Hannon, who was at Goucher, and he sent the assistant coach, Pat. And then when he saw me play, he basically just picked me up. I just trusted that I was going to go to school. It wasn't my full on intention, but lacrosse is different for me than it is for many people. I see lacrosse as a lifetime of playing, of allowing it to be a vehicle for me to shape myself and to add value to the world. And some people see it as a means to an end in terms of getting to college. And with that, I will say a few things. One is that there are excellent coaches at the MCLA level that run great programs that can build incredible cultures where you might not be going to University of Northern Carolina, but the University of Northern Colorado, where my brother went, like they've got a good program, they're playing, and you're in that team culture where you can build the foundations of being a great teammate and getting the best out of yourself. And so lacrosse has always been a vehicle for me to have a bit of control in the madness of the moving from house to house and all those things, where I knew when I hit the wall, I could have myself. Now, in terms of the limits on players, there's another aspect, and you mentioned the Olympics too. And I was talking to someone at USA Lacrosse the other day, and sixes is a huge problem for college teams, because if they're seeing this sixes on the Olympics, now the athletic director's going, you don't need 34 spots, you need 12. Why are we doing this? Right? Like you don't need this and that. And so it's funny because I guess from a perspective of like a Division 3 school, like where we went to, having lacrosse come with no athletic scholarship is a good thing, because that player actually pays for their board and all the stuff and they make money. Whereas at D1, if they have scholarships for everyone, it's now you're just paying out. And I think that um, the pressure put on kids to perform at the club level in order to get a scholarship. Like I was having a conversation with a guy I actually met. I had a vacation in Mexico, and he's actually from Colorado too, and his son plays and has been playing club for a few years. So he's spent like 60 grand. And now the kid is realizing he might want to do MCLA instead of a divisional school, when that now is a bit of a letdown for the dad. And I see it very differently than that. Like college taught me how to learn. I remember being in a physics class, and I was late, and I usually sat by this girl. And so this day I had to sit in the front, and he had this big vat of water, and he pulled this a plunger out of the bottom of it, and there was a laser going through it. And I watched the laser bounce down the water. So he was teaching refraction. And I was like, dude, what else have I been missing? And so that the reality, and then I sat in the front of all my classes, and college fulfilled that. And I think that lacrosse being a vehicle to get you to a lacrosse place that you like is awesome. I think the value of all the teams that are not seen, it's not D1, D2, all that. It's like D1, and D2 is still in the same fragment as where D1 is. Now the play is not the same. They're faster, they're bigger, they're the best athletes. Like they're the best of the best of the best. And if that's what you want to pursue, and here's my back to what POWlax does, you have to love it enough so that every time you have a choice, like success and focus is not about all the things you do. It's about eliminating what you do. Like my college coach, you shouldn't even be playing video games. Like when it comes to you getting home, you're tired from a day and you know that you've got 2 hours of homework, but you could sit on the TV and watch. Back when I was in high, it was like USA High or some other weird show. You've got a choice. I can go get 500 reps in on the bounce back, or I can sit here. And so if you eliminate that comfortability of the TV, and you can then go improve, now you're doing the things you have to do in order to be that Division 1 athlete. And if you don't, your window just got tighter. So it's got to be the expectation. I'm curious as far as how the lacrosse is going to use the transfer portal. I know it kind of helped a lot of the Ivy players who had the 5th year but couldn't use it at the Ivy schools, but it doesn't seem to be quite as outrageous as football. But when you think about your future and you're going to college, like talk about good decision, good decision. Like I was lucky enough to not go through all the like stress of like I had to do the tests and all that, but I kind of believed the whole time that I was going to go somewhere. I mean, and I remember going to play Salisbury.
Ooh,
And
baby.
being like, Salisbury's a Division 3 school that, could be competitive with like, I'd say probably like 15 on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think they could do that now, but they smoked us. Like it was embarrassing. It was 22-3, and the 3 were our senior captain and he scored him in like the first minutes of the game. Well, then Jim Berkman came in and was like, put a nix on it. Sorry. And I remember just getting, I got blasted that game.
Oh
But,
yeah.
so because of my experience with lacrosse, and I have a very cool like traditions of the story. Basically, I was given a traditional wood stick by my high school coach. He had been up to see Alf Jacques on the res, and in the native community, when men are born, they're given a stick and they're buried with that stick. And the stick is a connection to the earth. And you are the stick. So on the teams, you are not allowed to throw your stick. You are not
No.
allowed to
Lean on it,
throw your helmet, your
rest on
gloves,
it. Yeah.
any of those things. And I had a conversation in my What is Lacrosse video, which is the video I recommend everyone do because it talks with like Jim Brown and how he said, like, if I could play lacrosse 6 days a week, I'd play football on the seventh because you get to be fast, strong, speedy, all this. And many people don't know that he was an All-American lacrosse player at Syracuse. But when I talked to Alf Jacques, the guy who makes the sticks, I wanted to know more about what the stick meant to their culture. And he said it's a connection to the earth. It's, God made that tree. I didn't make the tree. I could water the tree. God made it. And this is our connection to the earth. And he spoke about some of the differences in terms of the different energies of the male and female and how, we're hunters, right? Like we can't create life. They
Mm-hmm.
can.
Mm-hmm.
Women can. How beautiful is that? And when you, either way, I was gifted the stick. And as I mentioned before, I always felt like a bit of an outsider in the lacrosse community because I've got a distant, like, grandma who was full blooded Cherokee Indian, but I never was in the culture. But when I was gifted that stick and I played in the backyard at like 10 o'clock at night, full moon, because of what lacrosse has given me, it was like God didn't forget me. The creator didn't forget me. He's shown me all my gifts through this game, and he made that stick for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it found its path from Alf to my coach, then to me. And it really rejuvenized my faith. And it's been interesting being a complete skeptic for the majority of my life and then finding a real wholeness and like it's been incredible. But so from the college perspective, I don't see lacrosse as a way to get to college. It's something that you do that helps you find your gifts that you're going to be able to transfer through and outside of college. Now, if you have that in you where you can work as hard as anybody and you're willing to do that and you love it that much, go do it. But realize your window got tighter, like we said, and if you shoot for the stars, you'll land on the moon, right? Like you might be at a D3 school, but that's a great opportunity to learn, to improve yourself, to have a little bit of fun. And the cultures that are being created at these schools are excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And the things you're going to figure out about yourself are more valuable than saying D1 or bust.
Yeah.
Like the full picture of becoming a great person is what lacrosse is for. So there was a big misnomer about lacrosse. There's also two games. There's lacrosse and there's stickball that the natives played. I had an experience with that. I got to play stickball in Washington, D.C. at the one lacrosse gathering. But what Oren Lyons, who is the keeper of the game, he's like he's essentially the elder that it does lacrosse. I think he's 94 now, but he was talking about it and he said, when people saw lacrosse, they thought, what is this wild game? And there's the one picture of like hundreds of people playing. And like they used words like, oh, these savages playing these games and these like, they're just crazy. They weren't crazy. Every single person in that was monitoring the game. There are no
Mm-hmm.
refs. When someone acted out of line, there was a consequence. And they all held up their values within the game that allowed it to look chaotic and crazy, but it was monitored by everyone. That's how a team should be. Hey, man, you left your napkin. Make sure that hits the trash. Right? Oh, Billy, dude, if you go through first, man, just hold the door. You'll get to the locker room. You'll be all right. You know, It should be every single person is a value addition for a team with the recognition that they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's coaches, man, who like the game teaches you a lot. It's hard, but without the structure and the foundation and the cultural dynamics of a good coach who's going to be there before you, who's going to set up the drills, who's going to model the behavior that it takes to be a successful person, it's not as powerful. And, it's given me a lot, it's allowed me to find my gifts. And I think that if that's the first focus in recruiting, awesome. If you want to do it, do it. But recognize that wherever you land, it's going to teach you about yourself, who you are, and add value to your life.
Yeah.
And what you can contribute to others.
That's a good piece. And I feel to wind down this episode, a beautiful representation. And then the tagline for captains and coaches is raise the game. So then that's my give back to the game, right? In this respect to this conversation, lacrosse, but across all sports avenues, and the underlying opportunity for leaders to lead and then people to develop future leaders, and showing them the
Yes.
value of investing in yourself, having discipline, delaying gratification, creating value in responsibility versus the video games, and a dedication to reality. This is where your skill
Yes.
is. If you invest time and effort, your skill will increase versus what the outsiders may be telling them, or the news, or people outside of the locker rooms telling them about themselves, that their coaches and teammates have different opinions. College is a special place for you to level set on your skill set and your behaviors, actions, and decisions, prepare you for the real world, where professors and bosses, they don't have time for excuses, because this is their livelihood as well.
Yes. And don't get modeled like what's the big one with the people, the D1 athletes that come out of college? I remember Nick had a big trouble with that on one of your other episodes, where Nick Tintle, like when he was out of school, he was like, well, what am I now? I've always just been a lacrosse player. And it's important that we start to, in that phase of life, is to recognize that at some point this is going to go away. So whether you go pro and then you're not pro, or you go to college, then you're not in college, anytime you get to a massive hill, massive mountains, I think it's a Haitian proverb, behind big mountains are more mountains. And once you don't have that identity of I'm a student, I'm a lacrosse player, hopefully you have invested in the fact that you are more than just that. And what's fun is that you don't even know that you have. Maybe you just need a great coach or leader to show it to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to look inside. We don't see ourselves a lot. And it's hard to be in this thing and recognize the beauty in us because we know all of our faults. But if someone else can say, hey, man, thank you for how you addressed me in that. I felt really bad when I did that. And your patience with me really helped me to just, it just helped me today. Thank you for helping me on my day. And then the guy goes, wow, I had a good impact. And then keeps it going.
Yeah. We'll close with this. I have a core memory at Goucher, and this is CAC playoffs my freshman year, where y'all bested us. And a senior, we're walking through whatever locker room hallway that we had, and then a freshman was saying, I was a freshman, one of my freshman teammates was saying, like, if coach put me in, blah, blah, blah. He was talking, and a senior whose career was over, he's just boiling up, crying on the inside. And he just turned and looked at this freshman and just unleashed on him about how he, being a poor teammate in that moment, and he gave everything because the senior played the entirety of the game and laid it all out there, and his career was over. So did his best to help shape the freshman moving forward. It may have not, knowing that freshman, it may have not impacted him for the rest of his career, but it had an impact on me, who was certainly listening in, not getting playing time. But Yeah, man, just the depth of the sport, man. And I feel this will not be our last conversation. So I'm grateful for you, man, and all that you're doing to raise the game. And if
Thank you
people
as
want to
well.
continue to learn from you, where should they go? And just there's so much value in what you're about to share. I hope people listen here.
So the best places to go are POWlax.com. We've got assessments for coaches, players, parents that give them direction in the game where you'll just answer some questions and then you'll get a readout of things that are specific to your situation. And then all my videos are free to watch on YouTube. You can also watch them on POWlax.com. You can follow me on, I think it's POWlax22 on TikTok and X. And then Instagram and Facebook are POWlax. And yeah, if you need anything, shoot me a DM. My email is patrick@powlax.com. Feel free to contact me anytime. And if I can help you to understand and enjoy the game more, that's my mission. I want to make it simple for coaches, players, parents. I want to create confident coaches. And if I can be of any assistance, I'm all here for it.
Boom. That does it for another episode. Thank you. Bye. And scene.